In 1955, on a warm August night, near Hopkinsville, Kentucky, two families, the Siddons and the Taylors, were enjoying each other's company. Little did they know they would encounter something unforgettable and out of this world. Hey guys, today we're following one of my absolute favorite alien encounters. The Hopkinsville, Kentucky Goblin encounter of 1955. And it's my favorite for a variety of reasons. It's one of the earliest reported encounters of aliens preceding the popular Grey. And it's also the first time the term Little Green Man, I guess, was coined, and where it kind of just became a popular term to use. And in my opinion, it's also one of the wackiest but most frightening encounters I've heard when it comes to anything UFO or alien related. The story starts off like this. A man named Billy Ray Taylor and his family were visiting the Sudden family living in Kentucky on August 21st, 1955. There was almost a dozen people gathered in the house that night, including Billy Ray Taylor and his wife June, the Suddens, consisting of mother Glennie Langforth and her children Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary, as well as Elmer Sudden, also known as Lucky, and his wife Vera, and his brother J.C. Sudden, along with his wife Aileen, with her brother O.P. Baker. Around 7 p.m., Mr. Taylor went to get some water to bring back into the house, which is where he reported seeing a bunch of strange lights in the sky, with a variety of glowing colors, almost rainbow-like. When he reported this back to everyone in the house, they all kind of assumed he was just imagining things, or he was like off his rocker. He had a reputation for kind of being outlandish, or out of the family members, he wasn't most trusted when it came to his word. It wasn't until an hour later that the Sudden family dog began barking wildly, as the family heard strange noises coming from outside. Lucky and Billy Ray decided to check out what was going on outside and what was spooking the family in an attempt to put a rest to it. And this is where they claimed to have encountered a being 20 feet away from them, and the creature was described as being 3 foot tall, goblin-like in appearance, with long pointy ears, a glowing hue to them, as well as long lanky arms that almost touched the floor and were almost disproportionate to the rest of their body, legs that did not seem to move, large glowing yellow eyes, and they were described as metallic in color. The movement of these creatures was described as their feet staying in the same position, but their bodies moving almost in a swaying motion. There are some discrepancies when it comes to the appearance of the creature's hands, with some reports stating that the creatures had almost talon-like hands, very sharp and pointy. So then these creatures started approaching the house, and this is when the men decided to shoot at it, because it's like, well, what are these creatures trying to get into our house, right? And when they shot the creatures, it was reported that they heard a metallic clink each time the creatures got hit. However, there was no sign of blood or wounds on the creatures. All that simply happened was they rolled backwards and retreated back into the forest line. I guess the first creature retreated and decided to go a bit away from the house, which is where they realized there was another one perched on the roof of the house. And this is where it was reported that one of them pretty much grabbed one of the men by the hair, trying to raise him up, and they shot at the creature again, and this creature too fell from the top and kind of retreated as well in a rolling backwards motion and floating back away from the house. And I guess after that initial scare, things started to get a bit quiet. They started discussing what to do next and what just happened, Everyone in the house was frazzled and just panicked. And a few minutes later, a creature is then again sighted peering into the window of the house. Well, one of the windows. And everyone just loses it, pretty much. And that's when they decide to shoot at it again, breaking the window. The creature disappearing. But I guess this is when the creatures started popping up in different doors and different windows. And I guess this is where the story starts to get really frightening. You know, it's like, why were they peering into these windows? Were they friendly? Were they malicious? Were they just playing around? Are they playful? So this was a really frightening ordeal for the family members that remained hidden inside the house. And it wasn't until Miss Langford of the Sudden family, the oldest member, pretty much decided that the situation was just not making any sense. But they also didn't feel that it was appropriate to be shooting the creatures since they hadn't really caused them any harm other than to scare the family. And around 11 p.m., both families fled to the police station to report the incident. And so the families kind of left. Once things started to quiet down again, they took it as a chance to leave to the police station to finally report what was going on, and this was around 11 p.m. And here the police noticed that both families seemed to be in a state of fear. Was pretty much kind of like, well, something probably did happen to them. It's kind of hard to fake that sort of state of emotion. And they went back with... I mean, this is where the story starts to get kind of iffy. I see reports that either they went with a dozen police officers back or about 20. I'm not sure what the amount is, but what seems to be consistent in reading about the story is that they went back. They couldn't find any concrete proof of anything, though they did find a residue on the floor that was sticky and glowing. However, this was not analyzed and disappeared by the following morning, as well as reports of a strange light emitting from the forest, whose origin could not be identified. And so the police left, and it was around, I guess, 2 a.m. that the creatures came back, and Billy Ray started shooting at these creatures again. And I guess they almost came like in waves of, or I guess hordes of these creatures. Though never more than 2 at a time was reported, though some people stated that there was about 15 creatures. Really a varying number. And they reported last at 4 a.m. where they were never seen again. And so now we get to that part of the story where I guess I just kind of analyze, was this a real or fake incident? Personally, I feel like this is a sort of event that's just really out there, really hard to come up with, just really bizarre. And if you were going to make up a story about aliens or UFOs, it wouldn't be something like this. Something that gives it credibility as well is that it's one of the earliest reports of alien encounters, with it preceding even the Barney and Betty Hill abduction, which is one of the most famous and well-documented cases. I personally do believe that the family believes that they saw something that night. However, I was reading a lot of, I guess, discussion around that maybe they possibly saw a type of owl, great horned owls in the area, who are known to get territorial. Maybe considering the family already had the idea of a UFO flying around, and then seeing these owls coming at them with glowing eyes. And these owls can get pretty big as well. Which kind of brings it back to when they were talking about how in some cases the creatures were described as having almost talon-like appendages, which kind of makes me think, well, maybe they were owls. They had the glowing eyes. They were almost about the right size, as well as the fact that it was an animal known to be native in the area, and that there was sightings of a meteor shower, I believe, that same night as well, which kind of makes it seem like, oh, well, maybe this could have been a case of mistaken identity, but the family was really terrified. It's kind of hard to just say no either, because, well, it's really hard to mistake an owl for a glowing goblin-like creature coming and appearing on your windows. I feel like the glowing aspect will be something that You wouldn't normally see something glowing, right? Not in the animal world. Not when its full body is known as glowing as silver metallic hue. Something else that gives this story more credibility as well is that when the family was questioned to see their stories of each version of this case, it was pretty consistent, all their descriptions of what happened. The way the creatures were described was consistent as well. There wasn't much differences. As well as the fact that they kept up with their version of the story. It wasn't changed much over the years. And in 2002, Lucky Sidden's daughter even said she always believed her father's account of the story, stating that it was something that always brought him fear when he talked about it. It was something serious. It was never funny. He never thought it was funny. And this family never gained much from this, not fame, not money, because it just became a bit of a problem for them. People would mock them. People would constantly show up at their house, trying to bother them about the story. These people just wanted to, I guess, live a peaceful life. So this story itself has made quite an impact as well in the world of ufology, but also mainstream popular culture, with a similar creature appearing in Pokemon known as Sableye, who I've read, who has had inspiration from this alien with the way that it's goblin-like. It has like long, pointy fingers. I mean, I guess that's as far as the similarities go. It's small as well. As for the term Little Green Men, it's kind of where this story popularized that term, since so many newspapers and magazines at the time were using it when they were talking about the story. Though, it's important to note that none of the eyewitness accounts claimed that the creatures were green. It was just something, I guess, added as just kind of like to make the story, I guess, more incredible or crazy. I mean, not that it needed that. And now every year, I think there's a celebration in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, where they kind of do alien-themed parades, and they kind of celebrate this event. Thank you guys for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, and share with your friends as well. If you like this look, you should check out my Instagram, where I post multiple times a week, or at least I try to. Have a good night, guys, and stay safe.